Hey, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Let me, am I doing it right? Yep. Looks like I've got everything set up halfway.
Okay.
Stream's up and running. That's good. That's a good thing. We'll get that going. Let me connect over here and get this one. Oop, not that one. I don't want a recording. I want a
So
new
this
one.
is the mirror. Okay, I get that. I gotta get a haircut.
Yeah, me too. All right. Let me find you here. This one, that one.
Harsh, how are you doing?
Okay, take this one. Need that.
Okay, right to speak.
All right,
Or
got
I
this one
no 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 no.
muted. Put
I
this one.
messed up. Invite to co-host. Come on. Okay. Did you get Mike the co-host invite?
Not yet. Not yet.
Hey, Harsh, how are you doing? Uh, Excellent. We're just getting a little technical things getting going on together. Hey, have you gotten a chance to use Grok, or is that just not interesting to you? The, y- yeah, I mean, yeah, with I think coding Claude does the best consistently. And they talked about it being a 10x improvement based on the CPU and the computing power. But for content and for certain marketing things, it really does well. But I haven't gotten that much chance to use it, but I had not seen a huge jump in its skills in terms of coding. Can you say that again? In terms, I missed that. Um, Levels. Yes, that's yes. I thought it was interesting because I heard. I don't know if it was through the presentation last night or if it was just on posts that they were going to give it to everybody for a short period of time, and then it was only going to be for premium users. But I guess that didn't happen, and then we're still waiting for the audio uh, capabilities so we can chat with it. Andy, can you? Okay, good. Yeah, and just curiosity, when you watched the stream last night, did you enjoy us talking over it? Was it's impossible for me to see myself from a point of view as somebody who's listening. It's really important to me that we, you know, your opinion means a lot to me because of your work and what you contribute to the space. And so I was just curious. You can DM me. You don't have to answer here if you don't want, but just okay.
Why not? The thing is, I'm a person who like reaction videos, and me and my team every Sunday we hold a watch party on either on Topper Studio or on Discord. So it used to want to. For me, it was a good experience.
That's so awesome to hear. Go, Andy. So you
Yeah,
heard
that's good. Although it was a little dry. It was very technical. It was, it's kind of funny. The guy sitting on the left, he posted today. He goes, "Yeah," he says, "I never thought I'd be playing a really dumb Tetris game in front of 2 million people. Thank God my machine didn't crash." I thought that was pretty funny.
And also the thing is like it was technical. Technically, it was good, but I am not clear on the benchmark. Like the benchmark they have shown, it's to what they have compared it to. Like even if 4 is written there are updates in it. So upon which point they are setting that benchmark. That's the first thing. Another thing is that initially when Elon said like we are trying to solve mystery of universe and something like that, and I'm still failing to see that it's just another LLM with a little bit of reasoning. Okay, and how it is helping to solve the mysteries of universe. That was a point which like made it off bit, but technically, yeah, it's one of the model which is good, and I'm looking forward to try it more. But I was looking at many tweets upon Grok 3 the entire day, and there were like multiple test cases. Like one of the test case where people used to like a bouncing ball simulation inside a hexagon. So in those tests, the ball was just bouncing off. Like it was not bouncing inside that shape, but it was falling off. And that fall off is like you can also do that with the 8 million parameter model, any model out there. So that kind of result is not expected when you are like that reasoning and everything is claimed to be like such on a higher benchmark.
Well, I would say in terms of what Elon said about understanding the mysteries of the cosmos, if Grok is put into the rocket ships as well as the satellites, and then goes to Mars, there might be some insight into all of that through that extra data. So we'll see. I mean, he has a big vision, and it's really, a bigger vision than anybody has ever come close to that has the capacity to achieve it. So I do I don't do the technical work that you do, Harsh. So I don't know what to see to actually know that it's provable. But I do kind of give them the benefit of the doubt in a lot of ways.
But they have also said that there are some things they are going to release. Like they have mentioned one model during the conversation, which they already have a better result on, but they have not released it yet. So let's see what happens with that model. Another thing is obviously there will be multiple updates. So maybe with updates it will improve more and more because ultimately it's more about the user experience.
Yeah, well,
not from technicality and yeah.
The one thing that they showed last night in the chart, how quickly it caught up to Chat GDP, even though it started later. And I was listening to Robert Scoble on one of the spaces last night, and he said that he had a conversation with somebody who is very, high level up there in building these AI models, and he said the thing that you need to watch out the most is how fast they learn. The ones that learn the fastest are the ones that are going to gain the greatest advantage. And based on the chart last night, when it showed where ChatGDP started and then where Grok started and where they met each other, it shows that Grok has a much faster learning curve than ChatGDP. So we'll see on that. And Jason, what would you like to add, or Harsh, if you have any closing thoughts on this uh, topic, please go ahead.
No, let's go over to Jason.
Yeah, I have been using it just all throughout the morning, and actually, like a couple of catches that I thought I would mention is like the deep research part. I was getting frustrated with it because it was never reasoning and like going out to do search, and the UI is a little bit clunky, so you have to click. Let me double check. The think, there's like a think option on the chat if you go to the grok.com, and that unlocked it, and it was like 100 times more useful because I was trying to emulate some of the stuff they did on the demo last night. And then one other thing I'll add is if you log in with your X account and go to the settings, they have where you can allow the data from your X account to go through so it can learn about you through your X posts and kind of figure out how to respond to you. So I'm messing around with that right now. But I've already downgraded my ChatGPT. I was using the $200 plan just so I could kind of experiment with it, but I'm pretty happy with the deep research, and it's worth just living with this one. So so that's my comments. And then
Jason, did you use any of the operator or the agent kind of things with the ChatGPT operator model, or did you even do that one? Was that the one you were looking?
Yeah, I did. So I did use it, and it was neat to watch it do its work, but I kind of run into similar issues like when you're trying to make an image. So you can give it generic stuff and it does it well, but if you start trying to dig in specifically about what it's doing, it gets a little sidetracked. So in my scenario, I wanted to create a presentation, and it was cool. So it went to Canva, created a temporary account because I didn't want to give it like my full account. And we went through the authentication process, and it did make a nice looking presentation, but when I started to ask it to fill in certain details about it into it, it would create like new sections randomly, or just put in fake data when it had already, like I had already provided it real data I wanted entered into it. So it was neat, but it wasn't useful, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I was noticing when I was giving it prompts, I would give it information, and then it would always add. That's a big problem with LLMs. Even when there's no necessity to add new stuff, they have a tendency to do it, and it's always kind of, they're just it's hallucinations. It's not coming from anywhere specific. The one thing I did notice about Grok though is if I asked it to do something instead of the old Grok, it would say, I can't do that. But then it would still, I can't do exactly what your request is, but then it would still spit out information, which in a way is kind of a waste of time. But the last part that you mentioned, because it does say that one aspect of the Grok 3 is the marketing abilities that unlike ChatGDP that has a cutoff point in terms of where it accesses data from the internet or what have you, that Grok 3 does it in real time. You mentioned something about it understanding your account or something like that. Can you go into detail with that a little bit more, Jason?
So there's and I've been using it on the dedicated website, so I don't know about the Grok on X, but there's a setting that you can allow it to access your data on your X account. So on the kind of the tooltip, that like the way I'm interpreting it is it will look at your posts and history and stuff to understand about you and kind of help build the context for your prompting. So I thought it's interesting, but I haven't been able to figure out how to encourage it to do it and then give me the feedback. So that's kind of what I'm playing around with for now.
Well, yeah. So I just put in, tell me about my account, and I put in at AI John Allen. It says, I don't have direct access to your account. So where is that setting that you can make it so it does? Is
So if you go into settings, hang on, I'm doing it while we're live, and then go to data. There's a personalized drop using X.
oh, okay, cool.
And the tooltip on it allow your X data to be personalizing and enhancing your experience. X profile, account info, and location, blah, blah, blah.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason. That's really helpful. Harsh. And please, anybody who's listening, please repost the space. Let everybody know about it. This is recorded so you can share it with people later. And also, the space is really only as good as the people that attend and speak. And so, if anybody here is using Grok 3 and found any interesting things, please grab the mic and share with us, because that's how we all learn. Is, you know, everything's moving so fast and there's so much information. We can't be everywhere all at once. And so, but by people sharing on these spaces in a way, we are multiplying ourselves. So please contribute in that way if you can. Harsh.
Well, the main thing is I do programming, and that is what I first try in any model. That if I can ease that job, if that model can ease my job there. And honestly speaking, like my experience was not great today with a Grok 3, because a lot of time it was failing to execute the task, even the simpler ones, which was given to it. Although when it is like, and here is the thing, different models have different capabilities when it comes to, and even in different languages. Like for example, if I give a challenge to ChatGPT in Flutter, it is tended to do a better job than it is tend to do in JavaScript. So in that, Flutter somehow ChatGPT performs somehow much better in executing the same task rather than a different language. So that is also same with Grok 3. So when I give it a simulation to make, so that simulation, that particular scientific code, like which you can say like we are trying to make a simulation there. Although those are also simpler ones, it is able to execute that very well. But when it comes to like general tasks, which a programmer actually does, so it is kind of I failing my expectation there. Like I believe that other LLM models like Cloud 3.5, those are better. And like also since it was like trained on synthetic data, I believe instead of improving that ability there, it basically changed. Like it made it much more worse. That synthetic data training there.
Harsh, do you think that it was your expectations, or do you think it was because of the performance? Did you think it was going to be more faster or different or better, and you just were disappointed? Because it's a little bit faster than the other ones in the things I've been doing.
Like for the kind of job I do, like when I spoke about programming, I don't care if it gives me the result after 5 minutes or if it gives me the result in just 5 milliseconds. The main thing is that how accurately it is able to give me that solution, and when it comes to comparing those solutions between different, like there are some things I ask to different LLM models. First of all, I try with the kernel level questions. So on kernel level questions, like on which every operating system sits upon, like literally every LLM fails there. So that is out of the competition. But after that, I go to the OS level and then I go to the app level. Now, all the LLMs right now, they are just on the app level. They are not able to like go to the OS level. And even on the OS level, when I compare different tasks, so there are 16 different sets of architectures. So the first question I will ask any LLM to test it, that how capable it is, how can I structure my project? Because a structuring project like initially, any software project, if you structure it well, it solves like most of your problem before you make them. Now, I have seen like there is a task I have given it to all three LLMs, and I have seen even good programmers failing at this simple task to write a program to delete a file or folder, and then started applying conditions upon it. And when you increase the conditions, like okay, let's have a match statement in this way. Let's do this. So multiple functionality adding to that simple set of program which needs to like delete files and folders in the system. And I believe that Cloud 3 Sonnet did the best job on that. But Grok 3, like if I give it 15 question, Grok 3 basically failed off after 7th. I did not even reach like more than 10, but with other LLMs, I went like more than 10 questions. 12, 13, and with Cloud Sonnet, I actually went up to like 15 and even more. So that was my experience there.
Do you think that's a token limitation problem? That it's saying, okay, we've reached max tokens and we're not allowing any more, or they regulate it in some way?
Like I said, different models have different capabilities. They are good at some things, they are also bad at some things. So maybe like for example, if I give, like I said initially, if I give ChatGPT a task in Dart, in Flutter, it tends to perform a better job than it does in JavaScript. So that is, I believe Grok 3 when it comes to programming, it is kind of the synthetic data it is trained upon. That data tends to make that a specific part of that model worse than other models. And like the benchmark there, it's not like matching the experience I'm having there. Because if the benchmark is literally that high in that particular section, it should perform better job. But I am getting a result like a 7 billion parameter model there.
That's interesting. I really like Claude for coding. I just feel like it does the best job, and it's consistent, and you can give it a ridiculous amount of information and it doesn't glitch out. Although sometimes it will kind of just say error has occurred and it's not going to do anything else, but then you got to wait a little bit and come back to it. But yeah, I'm going to go through, unless we have some hands. I asked Grok 3 to list the top 10 activities based on volume of X posts for Grok 3 in the past 24 hours. And so the number one activity that people are using Grok 3 for is automating marketing campaigns with real-time X data integration. This is the thing that separates Grok 3 from ChatGPT for sure, and most everything else except for Perplexity, but it doesn't have the features. Perplexity doesn't have the features that Grok has. The highest activity observed details users are leveraging Grok's 3 ability to process real-time data to craft dynamic marketing campaigns, unlike ChatGPT or Claude, which rely on static data sets. Grok 3 pulls live insights from X posts, allowing businesses to adjust campaigns instantly based on trending topics or sentimental shifts. For example, a small business might ask Grok 3 to analyze X chatter about a competitor's product launch and then generate a tailored ad copy to counter it within minutes. It eliminates delays in market research and response time and gaps that ChatGPT 4 has that lack real-time social media integration. Marketing pros are posting about slashing campaign turns around from days to hours, with some sharing screenshots of Grok 3 generated ads outperforming manually crafted ones. Yeah, and I think that's going to benefit ad sales on X. And hopefully, people have talked about a flood of people coming to X. That hasn't happened, or it's happening a bit, but it's not. It's coming along. I'd be curious to hear anybody's thoughts on that. But I think that Grok will have that X will definitely have an advantage in terms of creating ads if you can create ad campaigns with Grok 3 on X, to analyze real-time data immediately and then build little agents for that. You're going to have a real advantage. And you can do, and I'm sure you could just open Facebook and put put a lot of the information from Facebook into Grok 3 and use that. And it's crazy that Facebook and Google restricts so much stuff from their ad platform. It's ridiculous what you used to be able to get on analytics and stuff. And it's crazy to me that that they don't do that. But Google's kind of like a bottomless pit of money when it comes to Google ads. There's really hardly any kind of verification of where your money's being spent. I hope nobody from Google's listening, but that's my opinion on that. Well, Andy, should I go into the next thing that people are using Grok 3 for? Do you want to talk a little?
Well, what I found is that it seems to be faster for generating text, for generating kind of the logic constructs. So if I said, create a model to do this thing, right? So like yesterday we were talking about Gemma and using a Chrome extension. And I said, okay, create a Chrome extension using Gemma and do it. And then I said, can you make that a local version of Gemma? And then I ran it through, Claude and ChatGPT, Gemini, and Grok 3. And Grok, similar answers to all of them, but Grok 3 just did it a little bit faster. That's what I found so far. No real significant difference. I also ran it through a thing like, can you give me a Myers-Briggs type personality test on my posts? And to see if it matched any of the other kind of things that I had done in the past, which I had never asked it before. So it was kind of interesting to give it a request like that. So it was really fascinating to get that stuff. So yeah, go with the rest of the questions or the prompts that you did. So that's what I did.
Well, and it seems that there's a more thorough output with prompts when it comes to subjects or just kind of I guess language driven prompts for language driven outputs. It seems to be a lot more thorough, and I noticed that within the verbiage of it, or there seems to be a bit, ChatGPT can really put a lot of garbage language out there in their outputs, and it seems that Grok is much more focused. So the second most post or the second most thing that people on X are using Grok 3 for in terms of volumes of post is generating photorealistic marketing visuals with Aurora, but Aurora is not Grok 3. But that's the new Aurora. Okay, so now they've switched to Aurora for Grok 3. Okay. I still don't find the images as compelling as the other thing, but that's me. Grok 3 is a hit for creating hyper-realistic visuals, produce mock-up branded themes. Let's see, produce mock brand-up things compared to Midjourney or DALL-E. I mean, DALL-E, I looked at my old AI image generated with DALL-E, and they just look they look like child's finger paintings compared to what's coming out now. And that was less than a year ago. Integrated with X profile data lets users generate professional images like re-imaging a customer in a brand's universe faster and with less prompt tweaking. Now, one thing that I did with Grok that I'm still looking for in a simple tool like Grok is to upload an image and say, can focus on this part in the image that I uploaded, and like a person or whatever, and make them skateboard, and it can't do, it's not doing it. I don't know if anybody, the one thing that you can do is though then describe the person in the most detailed way possible so it can be reproduced, and it does a general job. But I don't understand why you can't upload an image. If somebody knows why, I would love to hear it. But why you can't just upload an image to Grok and then it take the focus of, because it knows what a human face is, and say, now put that human face on a on a giraffe or whatever, and make it skateboard up the Eiffel Tower.
I tried. I said make a chess piece on a blank chessboard, and it did. And then I said make a chess piece on a chessboard with other pieces, and it did. But it didn't have the right number of squares, and it put way too many pieces, and they were like all the white pieces or all the black pieces or whatever. And then I said, okay, do just 3 pieces on like in the end game, or 5 pieces in the end game of a chess match. And I listed the black king, the white king, a black rook, a white rook, and a black pawn, and put them in, and make it, and it didn't do it. So I was trying to see if it knew what is chess, what would the end game look like, what were the pieces, where would it be in any type of configuration on, if they were playing, how would that look, or how could it look, or whatever. And it made the chess piece. It made a nice kind of graphic with some nice background stuff, but it didn't make it a real chess game. Like if I would have placed the pieces on a board, took a camera, put some lighting on it, and picked it, I would have put the pieces in a place where they would have naturally been in a game. And I was trying to see if it would do, kind of that surface level structured logic confirmation, and then put that subtext or context into the picture so that the picture would come out accurate. It didn't do it yet, but it may in the future. We'll see. And I may not, again, I was just farting around with the prompt, so I didn't really try to work it or try to do anything like that. I didn't put the king in the right location. I didn't give it the right, context of, what, king 4, or, yeah, things like that. I didn't put in any of the square locations or anything like that. I just said, do this. It didn't do it.
Well, Harsh, I would love to hear, or computer science people, like what is there enough information to understand how to create a prompt to get the output that you want? Or is it still a bit of a black box, especially I think in terms of image creation? That like, what are the parameters? Because I know with the AI agents that I'm building on my AI tutor, I'm creating a prompt kind of in code, and then I put inputs in the brackets and tweak it around, and so there is a structure that you can get more consistent output. But I was wondering if anybody has any ideas on how to do that with images, and if that transfers to other outputs, so there's more consistency, and then the idea of more control in getting the output that you want, because that with coding, it's pretty easy, but with language and or images, it's the control isn't quite there, especially like with AI art. You give it a prompt, and then you can kind of, it's going to do what it's going to do. There are certain tools now where you can move, you can say, I'm going to grab this person and they're going to walk down this street, and it'll do it very well. But the minutia in those moments, you really don't have control over. And I'm wondering if anybody understands prompting enough, or the way these LLMs work, to create where you can get more control of that output. Harsh, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I'm not expert on this. Let me be very clear. But in my experience, when it comes to image generation with any model, especially when chat like Grok itself uses Flux. So the shorter the prompt and the more keyword oriented it is, the better result the better images we see there. So it's like if I am going to explain, if I do a very big, large explanation there, it tends to give me worse results rather than if I write it in terms of keywords. It's just like Google search. Like suppose if I'm writing there a big sentence, maybe I will not find my the result I want. But if I just place some certain keywords, that's it. So then it gives me a better result there. So with images, I believe it's like that. But when it comes to other stuff, then sometimes explanation works. But I believe the kind of features right now, like we are discussing about, that feature is not available in any image generation model so far out there in the market. Because we need to do so, we need reasoning over images. Over to you, John.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, I mean, I got rid of my Photoshop account because I get frustrated with Photoshop in the sense that it should have more AI features and AI should have more Photoshop features, but that's not happening yet. But it, you know, you should be able to say, hey, this is the type I want, and I want it over on that billboard. And then like it does everything wonderfully, except when it comes to writing words and putting things where you want them. Then it's kind of, you know, anyone's guess. But
it might just be that when we talk about okay, so it's trained on characters in sequence. So let's go back to what does an LLM do? It trains on characters in sequence with a space, comma, period, or some kind of grammatical accent between the characters, and it has to determine these 5 characters mean table, and these 5 characters in this context within the next set of frameworks means all of these things. And so then it can say, based on the usage and the frequency of those 5 characters with a TABLE in them, with a space at the front or a space at the end or a comma or a period or whatever, within the context of the framework of a sentence within English, means this kind of thing. And if you said TABEL, it would say no, there isn't any of those. There aren't. That's not frequently used. That's clearly a misspelling, and it really means the other thing. So all of that is what it's learning. Okay. We learned the visual context of pictures because we use our eyes to absorb everything we see. The color green, what we think the color green is for grass, for a wall, for a floor, for a table, whatever. It has, the learning model it doesn't have that connection yet. It has to be forced into that connection. In other words, it can't natively understand a white fluffy animal on the hillside with green grass and a blue sky. It's probably a sheep, probably a white fluffy sheep or a white fluffy dog on a hillside, right? It doesn't, there's just the volume of information from text is massive. The volume of information from cameras and pictures is just way less. And so I think we're running into a challenge of giving it the right information. I think a better way to do it would say, I'll bet you this. If you said, give me a road sign or a car or a road or a picture, because Grok is connected to Tesla, and Tesla has these millions of robots with cameras on all the time, capturing data and machine learning. What's the difference between a fire hydrant and a trash can or a dog? They're all about the same size. You could even dress up a dog with a trash can outfit, put it next to it, it'll figure it out, the difference.
Well, you know, one thing with SEO back in I think 2016 or something like that, the Google's ability to understand an image was way beyond their ability to understand language. And there were people that were taking pictures of, let's say you have a limousine company. I know one guy who was doing this. He was working, his client was a limousine company in the DC area, and they wanted to make sure that search was getting for graduation and the prom. And so they would take pictures of proms in front of a certain school. Google could identify that immediately. There's a, there's a limousine, they're dressed in a certain way, they're in front, it can identify that school and everything else. So their ability to identify images was way beyond language, 10 years ago. And it was just extremely superior. And so it is kind of interesting that that it's tackled its kind of ability to do language now a little bit better than to reconstruct image, but it's still, you have these tools that can get a picture of somewhere anywhere in the world and identify that location in a matter of milliseconds.
Yeah, but that's a matching algorithm. Here are the characteristics, find something that matches it. And it has a set of parameters to do that. When we ask an LLM to create something, it has to reason into getting the parameters and determining, like, what is a brick school? What is a brick? Is it a high school? Because if we just say, give me a car, or if we ask the LLM to recreate the same thing, right? If you take a picture, put it in and say, Google, where is this? And it goes, it's right here. If you did the same thing and you dropped it into the LLM and said, where is this and can you make a new one? Would it be able to do the same thing? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard a lot of people say within the prompts, you give an example of something that's already been achieved that you want to achieve, and that can help direct it quicker and better with better outcomes. I haven't been doing that as much with image generation, but I think I'm going to, and see if I can get a significant improvement. So let's go back to this, unless anybody would like to. I would love to hear. I think we all can share. If everybody was awake last night for the unveiling of Grok 3, I think there's a common consensus that everybody was a little underwhelmed. But you hear Robert Scoble, he's posting again and again. Anybody who really knows AI is saying how great it is. And I love Robert, he's amazing, but he's doing what Robert's doing is generating interest and focus and attention. And then there's all different aspects. Umesh, how are you doing? Did you get any sleep last night?
Hey, John, Andy, Harsh, and everyone in the listening. Andy, for the first time, I see you in the video, and you're dashing. I've seen John before. John, as always, is kind of an epitome of knowledge and experience, and you look dashing. Oh, man.
Well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. It's just me in my office with a couple of lights in the back and a black shirt and no hair. So there you go. Now when you see my blog or all my posts and you see that image of the guy standing there with glasses and no hair, yeah, that's what I want to look like. So that's my projection persona. But anyway, thank you. And I did see that you were up late, or you either woke up late or got up early.
Yeah, no, actually, the thing is that my body got triggered actually, and I woke up at around 3:45 UK time. Like I slept at 12:30, and literally in 3 hours I was feet, so to say. And then I joined Mario Nopal's space for a while, and Robert was there, and there were some other people as well. And good discussion there. A lot of Mario's spaces are always, combination of people who know nothing and
it's so
come to the
true.
stage as if they know everything.
Yeah, that's
and then
true.
people who know everything, or not everything, but a lot of things, but come to the stage as if they want to learn. So it's a mix of both kind of thing. So it was interesting take. And John, you said
about Grok, and I'll tell you something about Grok. But before that, I want to go to Andy's point on the diffusion models and image generation models. One of the thing that you would discover, and I'll give you a prompt that you can use, because I've been playing with Stable Diffusion even when it was creating 100-legged and multi-fingered and people and weird three-eyed people and everything. The earlier versions. And one of the way in which you can do is, especially if you're doing, let's say, some kind of a video.
Oh no.
You can ask it to create a scene of a table and describe some items on the table, and then ask the camera to pan, and you will see that the items on the table are not stable, basically. So that tells you a lot as to how diffusion models and video generation models really, really work. The reason being that at the core of it, obviously they have diffusion at some point, and diffusion means it is looking at all the pixels and it is generating that. So it's different from text, where you have a deterministic, the characters are characters, they don't change. But here you have every pixel that can change, and that's what is creating that instability. And you will see that sometimes the person kind of stands up, or the camera pans, and the objects will move like as if some gravity or some X-Men stuff. So that's one of the challenge that every video creator has currently in this space. And I'm in touch with quite a few video creators, because I was actually working within Synthesia in London, and they were helping an agency, a big agency, a worldwide agency, in kind of using AI to generate ads. And they failed miserably because of this particular aspect of it, because agency just thought they're going to get camera type output from AI, and obviously that was not possible. So the expectations were hyped, and that basically created all the problems. Anywho,
What?
Yeah, I was unwell. I was kind of, why did I lose my sleep? I mean, it wasn't something groundbreaking as such in terms of getting our hands on. I got access to Grok 3, played with it for a few prompts and everything. Yes, I mean, it is giving some good responses and everything. But I was really looking at, like, if you're hyping up so much on launch, you need to at least give something extra. Like, at least voice features should be fully functional in terms of receiving voice and extracting voice and everything. Image generation, again, is not really, they didn't talk about image generation at all, whereas image generation is a very important aspect of it. I checked, they didn't improve any kind of integration with X, which was really, really underwhelming. I was really expecting that, for example, if I ask it that, hey, what are John's latest 5 posts, that what is he talking about? And he, sorry, not he, it doesn't get it. Grok doesn't get it yet. So they haven't done that part apparently. So they are more focused on probably building the model, or I don't know how, because the XAI team is separate from X team. They are not really integrated. They work separately as well. So that may be the case. So these are the things that I was really hoping for. I think the $40 subscription model that he has put forward, they didn't talk about any kind of limits, like you have limits on ChatGPT in terms of open use and everything, deep research use, but they didn't talk about that. Any kind of limit. So maybe that they are trying to hit OpenAI under the belly kind of thing, saying $40 and you get everything. Like, you get deep research, you don't need to pay $200 for that, and we'll give you better results and unlimited, or kind of, let's say, high limit kind of thing. But they didn't talk about it. So yeah, I mean, all in all, one of the exciting thing was, and Robert speaks a lot about it, I think, in most of the spaces, but Elon said, like, he's going to send Optimus to Mars in the next Mars window, and Grok is going to be part of Optimus. Now, I don't know whether it is going to be the full Grok, because if you put full Grok, then you need that kind of power, because you need a really powerful machine to run Grok, so you need like multiple GPUs and everything, and I don't think that's possible. So I believe that he's going to have a toned down version, some kind of, let's say, distilled version of Grok that will be put in Optimus, and then it might even be, especially Optimus on Earth, might be connected to Grok, and then it will use the local Grok for regular communication with you, and then rely on the bigger Grok when you ask complex questions. So that's my take overall.
What two things. One, I didn't realize. I assumed that the Tesla's ability to be a robot was the satellites directing them in real time. But what I found out was that the programming, the computing is all in the car. And so with the Optimus, you don't have as much storage capacity physically as you do with a car, and so
it's true. Remember in the Tesla, because I have is my second one. I have the Tesla trains one driver and the map and all of the objects within that. So it's every day there's like 5 million miles or something that all the Teslas capture. They're only training one driver. And so what happens is every time there's an update, that driver model gets updated in your car. But yeah, your car processes whatever's going on around it. But it's using that model with its parameters. It's using the same driver model everywhere in every car.
And so then it's constantly up. The car is either in real time or periodically uploading all the new data into that one driver model.
Yeah, the problem is that you have when you it's very similar to what we've been talking about. When you drive, you see your vehicle as you are moving spatially through the area and all of the things where the car is going. And you have to pilot the vehicle to avoid any of the things that pop out. And the problem is that if there's no problems and there's nothing else on a static track, you can program any kind of car to operate on that track pretty consistently, pretty rapidly. Even learning model, everything, right? Any model you can do that. The problem is not the obvious and consistent. The problem with driving is always, what about when it's raining or snowing or icy? What happens when it's cold or frosty? What happens when you can't see? What happens when the windshield wiper goes across the camera and you can't see it? What happens if a bird poops on front of the camera and then the camera can't see it? What do you do then? Does the car just go stop? Does it do it right? What happens if there's a big giant ball that bounces out in front? What happens if a house flips over right in front of the car? What happens if a bunch of gumballs drop off the back of a truck right in front of you? What do you do? Once in a million things happen. Once in a lifetime things happen. But if you're running a million miles on 500,000 vehicles, maybe it's every day. Maybe it's once a day some crazy thing happens to one car and then everything gets updated so that situation gets better and better. And so I forgot. This is the second day in a row. I'm gonna have to look this up. But in manufacturing, when you have a precision model, and the model is to produce each individual part at the highest level of exactness, so that when you string them together and you put the parts together, each one doesn't increase the total amount of liability or failure risk profile of that entire thing. It's the same thing with software. Each part adds some level of risk or imprecision to the total. And if you have enough parts together with enough variances, eventually the whole thing is not going to be sufficiently of sufficient quality to deliver. And there's whole entire science around it. I forget what it's called. Somebody knows it. Somebody will ping me and let me know, remind me of that. But the same thing's happening with the LLMs are doing the same problem. They're great. And I think I mentioned this, or actually Giancarlo mentioned this. It's great for doing one task at a time. And then when you add one task and you add the second task to it, now that level of imprecision slightly less. So both of them together have to be perfect in order for it to be 100%. It's never 100%. So it's 99.9, and then you do the next one, and it's 99.7. And then the next one, pretty soon it's not 99% effective. It's something else. So anyway, I think that level of detail, when you're asking an LLM to create a picture of something that you imagine or have it represent something that you're describing with words, that you and I both have the same context of, a high school with a car, a limo, and a prom, you can imagine certain age kids dressed in a very specific way with a limousine, specifically that in a thing at night, blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's all these parameters that we assume that we know, but we didn't tell the LLM to do that. And it has to kind of read through and understand what that is in order to provide the rest of the context that we naturally assume, but it doesn't know unless we tell it. So that's why when Umesh said about a month ago, all of the really important work is going to happen on the front end of the prompting, getting all the pebbles out of the way so the rock can roll down the hill the same way every time. That metaphor has stuck with me, and I think it continues to prove itself true and true.
Yeah, one thing when the images first came out with Grok, I spent a huge amount of time, and it would, it was a process. I had to get one prompt and go, okay, you got that part of it right. Then another prompt, oh, you got that part of it right. And so it took this multi-tiered process to finally get it orchestrated to where it was as I wished it to be, or as close as possible. And so that's something that I guess we're all just going to have to deal with until that problem gets solved. One thing I was going to ask you, Umesh, is you mentioned that when you create images, the instability. I had a thought. I don't know if it has any validity, but what if you added physical attributes to objects within an image of a prompt, like this teapot weighs 1,000 pounds, or something like that. I don't know if you've ever tried that. Am I just going down a rabbit hole with that, or would there be any positive outcome for something like that with imaging?
Yeah, so John, I tried even slightly different. So I tried things like the object on the table is pinned or nailed to the table. But see, the problem is not model not understanding that the object should remain there. The problem is that when it gets into that diffusion mode, where it is trying to project the next pixel, because here you're projecting the next pixel instead of next word. When it is trying to project the next pixel in a video, it can't hold on to that part. So Google has done really well with their Rio model in terms of the physics, for example, where Sora was really bad comparatively, because when Sora came, it was really, really good. But then when Google came, suddenly Sora was like, you started noticing that Sora had so many physics problems, and Google got it right, but they got physics right in terms of, let's say, object falling, speed, everything like glass breaking, all those things they got right. But the things that they didn't get right as well is this: when you're panning the camera, the physical presence of the object, the triangulation of the object versus the triangulation with the objects which are moving. So stationary object and moving objects, while your camera is panning, is something that is still to be solved in having a stable scene, basically. So giving extra instruction to the model, saying this particular thing is weighing, let's say, 1,000 pounds, or it is nailed to this, and that doesn't help. So, like for example, right now I'm looking at your video. You have books behind you, and if I created the same scene with Sora, like John sitting in his home office with elephant on this, and let's say books behind, and the camera is panning from left to right, what will happen is that the books behind you will start moving. Like literally, like they will jump or they will, move on the side or something, like as if there is this, interstellar energy, so to say.
Interesting.
Yeah, that it made me all of a sudden think about gravity and how and light and how you can have different effects of the three-dimensional world in different places based on objects. And maybe if that was able to be explained in the LLM model, that might help solve that problem. But that's beyond my pay grade.
Yeah, well, it's 1 o'clock and I'm going to have to jump off. So thank you much for everybody for joining. Make sure you follow everybody. There's a whole bunch of people who've joined. I would love to hear their conversations. I'll listen to the recording later. But John, thanks again. We're going to end the live stream and I'm going to go back to work. And you guys can keep going with the audio here on X Spaces. Thanks again for joining the AI Biz Hour with John and Andy. So you guys take care. Have a great day.
Thank you, Andy. Everybody follow Andy. Andy is awesome. And he also does a space with Alex on the weekends, which is